middle school. Welcome to the summer. So our summer camp this year is July 14th through the 18th, and it's time to get ready. And so if I were to tell you, get packed up for camp, what sort of things would you think of bringing? Well, of course, what? A tent, pillow, sleeping bags, flashlight, bug spray, toothbrush. Do we need a toothbrush? I guess a toothbrush, things like that. And if you're going to a youth group camp, you might think of other things like, well, I better bring my Bible, bring a notebook, pens, that sort of thing, and be ready to go. But I'm not just talking about things that you would bring along, but how do you want to pack for camp? How do you need to get ready for camp? Well, one way is by being spiritually prepared, having a heart that's prepared for camp. And we've got 4 weeks together in small groups before we get ready for camp. And so the theme for these next 4 weeks is packing for camp. Not just bringing stuff, but being ready to go there and see what God will do there. So you're 11, 12, 13 years old, and what's great about middle school is it's a time where you really start getting some freedom. And what that really means is some responsibility for doing things without being told what to do. There are certain things you get to do now that you couldn't do when you were very little, right? You choose when to bathe, what clothes you might wear, maybe things like what book you're going to read, when you're going to do your homework. There's more and more decisions that you get to make. And that's the way that God's made it is as parents have full responsibility for you and tell you what to do when you're very small. But the older you get, the more responsibility needs to be given to you, because ultimately you're not in this world to serve your parents and listen to your parents. God put you in this world and he gave you parents to teach you how to serve and listen to him. And so at this time, we're learning how to take more and more responsibility for more and more parts of our lives. And over these 4 weeks, we're going to consider things in that direction. How can we take more responsibility for things in our lives, again, so that we're ready for camp when it comes? And the first step for packing for camp is to consider our habits. Habits. So when I say a habit, what do you think of? Well, I wrote down here, a habit is a regular tendency or a practice, especially one that's hard to give up. And so if you think of good habits, you can think of things like brushing your teeth or reading the Bible, making your bed, saving money is a good habit. All of these are things that as we do them, they're good things. Everybody thinks they're good things. They make you more successful. They're better for you. They're better for your family. They're better for people around you. That's a good habit. Now, bad habits could be things like procrastinating, waiting till the last minute to get things done, being late for things, always showing up late without really working hard to be there on time, maybe snacking between meals, maybe interrupting people. Things like that are bad habits. They're things that are frowned upon. They're not good for you. They're not good for other people, but they're things that we just get used to doing over and over. And it's hard to stop when you're used to it. There's also neutral habits, like, where do you sit when you eat dinner at home? It doesn't really matter. What do you order when you go to McDonald's? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just what you do, right? So there's habits. Now, why do I want to talk about habits? What difference does it make? Well, habits are powerful. A bad habit, it's kind of like if you're running a race and you're dragging a huge chain or weight behind you. It doesn't help at all. In fact, it's hindering you from moving forward and doing what you need to do. For example, like if your room or your desk is a big mess all the time, when you need something, when you have to find a paper that you're looking for, or when you need a pen or a pencil or some tool to get something done, you waste a bunch of time and effort and frustration looking for that thing instead of having it ready. The good habit of keeping a workplace clean is that it's ready for work whenever it comes up, right? And so a good habit, on the other hand, it's almost like if you're running a race and the wind is blowing behind your back. You're getting a push. You're being more successful than you would be otherwise. Things are going better for you than they would be going otherwise. And good habits, the thing about them is once it's a habit, once it's something you just sort of do naturally, it's kind of like a little bonus. It's a booster shot. It comes for free, and it helps to make you more successful for yourself and as you work to help with other people. And I wonder if you ever heard this. I wrote this saying down that I've heard. It says, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. And sow a character, reap a destiny. And so do you follow what that means? It starts with a thought. All of our actions come from what's inside of us, our thoughts. But as we think about something, so we do. But then, sow an action and reap a habit. The more we repeat an action over and over again, it forms a habit, for better or for worse. The sum of these habits, the things that we do over and over again most often, form our character. We are defined by the things that we do, because the things that we do come from who we are inside. And so your character comes out of these habits. That's why they're so important to form good ones and throw the bad ones overboard. And then sow the character and reap your destiny. And what I'd like to do is close with this, is Daniel. There's a bunch of great accounts of Daniel, but when Daniel was an old man, there came a time where he was one of 3 great rulers over the Persian Empire, just under King Darius himself. And he was the only one that was a God-fearer, somebody who followed after the true God. And everyone else was jealous of him because of the powerful spirit that was within him. And Daniel, and they wanted to trap him. They wanted to find something to accuse him of to just get him out of the way, but they couldn't. There was only one thing remarkable about Daniel, and that's that he always was devoted to his God. And so they came with this plan. They went to the king and they said, "Oh, king, may you live forever. We've got an idea. Let's do this. Let's make a law that for 30 days, if anybody prays to anyone or anything other than you, king, then he should be thrown to the lions. He should be executed. He should be killed for praying to anyone but you." And the king thought and said, "Well, I guess it sounds like a good idea. I'll do it." So he signs it. And then it says here in Daniel, it says, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. So when Daniel heard about this decree that was signed, what did he do? He prayed, just like he had done before. Today it says he was in the habit of praying. And so he did. And so how hard would it be to sit there and pray when you will be killed for doing so? But he had the habit of regularly, 3 times a day, over and over and over again, praying. And so through his habit, he was able to do this thing that was a difficult thing anyway, a little bit easier. So with all that being said, as we meet together in small groups for the first time this week, one of our goals is just to get together and know each other. And this is almost like an icebreaker. Consider your habits. What are some habits that you have? What are some good habits? What are some bad habits? What are some maybe just neutral habits that are kind of funny? And then I want each of us to consider what's one thing that you might be able to do over the next few weeks, one habit that you'd like to develop. And again, this could be something, this doesn't have to be a Bible thing, a Christian thing, but it could just be something like you might want to learn to not respond so quickly when somebody accuses you of something. Or maybe another habit would be to clean up your room, make your bed in the morning very quickly. Another habit could be always show up 5 minutes early for anything that's going on. These are great habits to develop because they're beneficial to you. They're good for your family. They're good for the people around you. And once it becomes a habit, it comes for free. So that's what we're doing this week. We're packing for camp, starting with habits. Looking forward to seeing you in small groups. God bless you.